we are going to be doing a rundown of the week that the Cavs have had. If you missed my update video and you've been wondering where the Cavs game recaps have been, I'm going to be doing them just once a week. So on a weekly basis, obviously, just kind of been running down these games because just in general, doing every game for every team that I like hasn't been working out. So I'm just going to be doing once a week for teams like the Cavs who play a ton of games. But if the Cavs, if they end up making the playoffs, I will do game-by-game recaps for the playoffs. But for the regular season, I'll just be doing them once a week, starting with the game at home against the Suns, the lone home game this week. Evan Mobley returned to the lineup in this one. Garland was still out at this point. Suns without Devin Booker, so that's a huge injury to them, obviously. Both teams starting the game pretty ugly. They were defensively sound games, and then some of the early showings from these teams I thought were some offensive incompetence, but I did think as the game got on, the defense did build up momentum and started to clamp down. I just thought early on it was a bit sloppy from both teams instead of great defense. But the Suns woke up and pulled away early in the second. Chris Paul with a throwback performance. Cavs only with 33 points in the half. That's how you know it's a rough going for them. Although I did think LeVert filled in nicely at the 2 spot in this game. Finished with 21 points, 5 for 7 overall from 3. Donovan Mitchell with a rough shooting night overall against the Suns at first, but he was crucial down the stretch. Only 1 assist away from a double-double. Chris Paul buzzer beater gave the Suns a 5-point lead after 3 quarters, but I thought Caris LeVert, again, he really got going early in the fourth. It was a back and forth throughout the end of the game, mostly the Cavs playing from a little bit behind, but they are able to tie it late, and then Donovan Mitchell put the Cavs up by 3 with about 40 seconds left, but Shamet tied it with a 3-pointer of his own. Then at the last second, Mitchell drew in the defense, found an open Evan Mobley who hit a top of the paint jumper with about 4 seconds left. Bridges missing a fadeaway to tie, and the Cavs winning a thriller. I thought Cedi Osman was okay off the bench, but I was really impressed by Raul Neto's performance in that game. I feel like he asserted himself throughout, which was pretty much kind of going to be needed with Darius Garland sitting out of this one. But overall, a close quality win. Maybe you don't want it to be that close, but they just ask how many. They don't exactly ask how, although we'll get into some more of the details on how sometimes close games shouldn't really be all that close later on. Then we go to the Denver Nuggets game played in Denver. The Cavs losing this one 121-108. Garland would return to the lineup after being listed as questionable, but Donovan Mitchell was sat for what was listed as rest. And Nikola Jokic had a tremendous game, had a triple-double, 28 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists. He's obviously continuing his bonkers season, definitely an MVP caliber season as to this point. Aaron Gordon also had a 12-point, 10-rebound double-double for Denver. Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley were both 1 rebound away from double-doubles, but horseshoes and hand grenades for being close to a double-double. You didn't get one. And I thought once again, Caris LeVert had another pretty solid game. The first half was pretty competitive, some back and forth with the Nuggets taking a 4-point lead into the break, but Denver would go on a run early in the third quarter. They would push their lead to double digits and kind of keep it there for the third quarter and throughout the entire game pretty much. Cavs just weren't able to keep up. Fourth quarter, again, not really any different than the third. I thought Darius Garland was doing all right in his return. The shooting numbers did leave some things to be desired, but it was his first game back after a thumb injury, and I think he's still, I saw in the Jazz game that we'll get to, he was still wearing a little thing on his hand, so maybe that had something to do with some of his shooting numbers as of late. I thought this was a game where, the Cavs rested their best guy and Jokic had a triple-double for the Nuggets. You're not going to win all of them. I thought that's kind of what this one was, especially, again, when you're sitting your best player and their best player goes off for a triple-double. That's usually a recipe for a loss. Another tally in your L column there. Moving on to the game that was at the Phoenix Suns, it was a win, 112-98. So the Cavs getting it done against the Suns. Donovan Mitchell returning to the lineup, starting 5 back to normal with the usual 4 starters, and then the small forward position, kind of whoever's hot that day. Okoro starting at the 3 spot for this game. Chris Paul out with a hip injury, and Cameron Payne out for the Suns with a nagging foot injury. So the Suns even more injured than they were in the last game against the Cavs. The game was much more offensively lively early than the first time they played. The Cavs scored more points in the first quarter with 35 than they did in the entire first half in the previous game against the Suns, so some offensive improvement there. And when Okoro hits multiple threes in a quarter like he did in the first, it's probably going to be a good night for the Cavs. He was probably their best 3-point shooter on the night for Cleveland, going 4 for 6. No one else really either shooting as consistently or as good as Okoro did in that night. It was one of those weird times where sometimes just things happen like that. Donovan Mitchell and Garland both had pretty solid outings, 22 points each. Maybe for each of those guys, you want to see a better 3-point percentage, but Garland, again, still have that thumb injury that he's playing with, but I'm not sure if it's fully healed. And Mitchell coming back off of a rest day, and they were both fine on overall shooting. Just maybe you want to see some more consistency from that outside shot. Jarrett Allen had a 13-point, 12-rebound double-double in that one, and every starter in this game against the Suns, every starter hit at least 10 points, so that's decent production there. And I thought Caris LeVert, once again, had some pretty good production this time coming off of the bench. 13 points, 7 assists, including 3 steals in his 28 minutes. Maybe this is a game you want to see them shut the door on a little bit quicker. They did have a double-digit lead in the second quarter that slipped away, but they dominated the fourth quarter and closed the game out pretty convincingly. That's a win I will take every day of the week. And now you get to the most recent game, a loss to the Jazz in Utah, 116-114. And this is what I was talking about with not every close loss seeming the same, as this was Donovan Mitchell's homecoming to Utah, his first game back, and it was a tough one just for sure. We'll skip all the filler and get right to this 7-point possession by Jordan Clarkson. So the Cavs were up 5 with about 90 seconds left to go, but it turns out they would not be getting the ball back until they were down by 2. Caris LeVert with a couple fouls on Jordan Clarkson from 3-point range. I've long stopped trying to discern what is and isn't a valid call. I've seen arguments for both. These are the worst calls ever, and actually, well, if you look at the rules, it actually is a good call. I'm not going to get into that whole debate. That's what comment sections and Twitter threads are for. But either way, I don't think Caris LeVert put himself in great positions on that sequence either way, whether they were or weren't, the toughest fouls on the planet, or whether they're pretty light. I think Caris LeVert, once you get the first one, you probably want to stay away from Jordan Clarkson as a shooter, especially if you got fouled. You fouled him once, you might want to make sure that you just want to get the ball back. But Jordan Clarkson hitting the free throws, got the Jazz up by 2, and then he dropped a dagger floater to put the Jazz up by 4. Cavs couldn't get a response bucket after Jordan Clarkson put them up by 2, including Caris LeVert with a wide open 3-point chance. So he definitely had a really, really tough ending sequence of this game. And then after Clarkson put him up by 4 with the floater, it basically became a free throw kind of game, and the final score is what it is. Clarkson was a force all game, and so was Lauri Markkanen, who had a 25-point, 16-rebound double-double. Colin Sexton still hurt in this one, so that him playing against the Cavs is going to have to wait for at least another season, unless the Cavs and the Jazz meet each other in the NBA Finals, which would be very weird and bizarre. But for the Cavs, still the road struggles continue for this team, which is really too bad because Donovan Mitchell was fantastic in his return to Utah, putting up 46 points, shooting 14 of 27, 7 of 18 from 3. Nobody else besides him had a consistent outside, 3-point shot going, which severely hampered their chances with Jarrett Allen leaving early in the game with illness. Kevin Love especially has gone Arctic cold at this point. He can't seem to buy a basket right now. And Jarrett Allen's absence was also apparent on the glass as Utah out-rebounded the Cavs 54-37, and was definitely something that down the stretch looked like a hindrance on the Cavs, giving up some second chance opportunities, not being able to get offensive rebounds of their own. Just, Utah kind of picking on Evan Mobley to be the guy in the paint a little bit, and you kind of saw that as Jarrett Allen left. And hopefully it's nothing too serious, but because again, when Jarrett Allen leaves the floor, you can really tell the Cavs are kind of in a state of disarray. But either way, this was another game that you feel like the Cavs probably should have had on the road that they just weren't able to close out. They let Utah keep being in it, and then they just collapsed late in the final 2 minutes, and Utah was right there to take advantage, mostly Jordan Clarkson, but in general. So for this week, the Cavs going 2-2, both of the wins over the currently plummeting Phoenix Suns. Overall, the Cavs right now, as we leave the week, they're in a decent enough spot. They are currently 5th in the East, neck and neck with the 76ers for that 4 seed. 2.5 games ahead of the 6 seed Indiana Pacers, and 3.5 games ahead of being in the play-in tournament. So I think this Cavs team is in a decent spot, but some concerning stuff like that. The road performances continue to be nerve-wrenching either way, whether it's a win or a lose, and especially when you have that kind of collapse like you did against Utah, it definitely raises questions of if this team makes the playoffs, they're going to have to clean that kind of stuff up if they want to have any form of success whatsoever. So thank you all for watching. If you made it this far into the video, I'll see you at the next one.